don't like get into the meat of everything. So, hello, this is Sarah Elena.
Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. Is that all right?
Yep. So we're on YouTube and in the Facebook group here in the Moving to Costa Rica Facebook group on the computer. So if you see me looking this direction on there, it's because I'm looking at my computer. And we're on, so we're in the YouTube channel, the Facebook group. There's no one on yet, so I'm going to wait a few minutes because we don't want to just jump into all the meat of the important information and then people miss it. So if you're joining us right now and this is a replay, maybe skip ahead a little bit and then
That's
we'll get
a good
started.
idea.
Yeah, you can always just skip ahead, not listen to us babble on. So we have 3 people on here, but I'm going to wait a little bit. And yeah, so as usual, you can post your comments, questions. Pablo's going to go through some information here that's about shipping to Costa Rica, which I think is really important for y'all to hear. A lot of things that we chatted about. So we watched sunset together the other day. There's a lot of surprising things about shipping that I did not know about. So I was like, wow, I think this is information that definitely needs to be shared because I do have clients who want to ship. I have some that don't, but for those of you that do, I think this is going to be important information for you to hear. If you're new to the Facebook group, my name's Sarah Elena. I host the group. I help people relocate to Costa Rica. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself. And
Hello group. Hello, everybody. My name is Pablo Arias. I've been doing international shipping and customs, Costa Rica customs for the last 10 years and a half. And it is a very interesting industry. And there's a lot of misinformation out there about shipping. There is a lot of people that had bad experiences. And if you ask around, let's just ask around, what was your experience with when you shipped to Costa Rica to another expat? Chances are that they have a bad experience. And I guess the main reason is because they did not have the right information before shipping. They hired a container company, and a container company is not the entire solution. It's just one of the providers you need. You need to be aware about regulations, customs. You need to be aware of what things you are allowed to ship. And there is many things that you are allowed to ship, but they are also problematic when it comes to customs. So I hope to bring a lot of value in this interview and help you decide what things to ship, what not to ship. If you have questions or anything, just send us in through the comments, and I'm happy to answer. And if not, you can send us an email, and later on through the week, I'm happy to get back to you. We're also here my Facebook site or business site, and this is Sarah Elena, and she is how we call. We had this conversation the relocation specialist. That's how the title that I have. But she is also a relocation specialist, and she helps expats coming to live to Costa Rica. Not just about shipping. I mean everything as far as where to live. You have questions about what are the areas that you need to relocate. Maybe you have kids and you have questions how to go about your kids to school. She's a mother of a nice little young daughter. So she's got this experience that she likes to share, and she's having lots of fun doing it. She's loving her job, and I really connect with that. I also have a lot of passion for what I do. So here we are together trying to educate the expat community who is looking to move to Costa Rica. By the way, I have this. Be getting a lot of requests. A lot of people looking to relocate. A lot of people are sending us emails. I'm moving from Houston, from Florida, from New York, from everywhere in the U.S., from Canada, from Europe, and it's interesting. It is very interesting that after this pandemic, and as this pandemic is kind of concluding or finishing, or it's getting normalized or whatever, we're still getting a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'll just purchase a house." So believe me, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of people moving in the next few months to Costa Rica, or finally making their move because they've been holding back because of this pandemic.
Yeah, it's been a busy time indeed. That's for sure. So shipping. Would you mind telling us a little bit about? So obviously, for someone who's going to move to Costa Rica, they might not have any idea about the process. Can you tell us a little bit about how it might be different? From just shipping in the United States to actually what happens internationally. What is that process that the items go through when they enter from there to here?
Okay, the first thing I think that we have to be very, very clear is once you go international. Once you go international waters or air freight to another country, you're everything is legally everything is held to a different set of rules, and it's very very important that we at least have someone that is very good. I mean, if you're moving into another country, you have to find a local lawyer for that for those laws. You need to be aware of what is allowed, what is not allowed, and it's the same thing with shipping and with customs. Everything is being hauled back to a different set of rules. So just don't ship anything until you are completely sure that your items are properly managed by a customs broker here in Costa Rica, and after you know that is worth it. And many things are not even worth it to ship. I have these questions all the time. Can I send somebody's shipping a container and they say, can I send my cosmetics? Can I send my shoes? And a lot of these things require additional permits from the health department of Costa Rica or from different entities. And guess what? It's not worth it. Let's say you have, I don't know, your cream, and it's probably worth $20. You buy this in a supermarket in the United States, and when it goes to customs will make you pay for a certificate, and this certificate could be $100, just to make sure this cream is good for the health of the Costa Rican market. And I understand it's yours and it belongs to you, but when it goes through customs, you have to follow these steps. So guess what? This cream of $20 now is costing you $120. And guess what? A lot of these creams are available in the supermarket down here. So
is this being opened or unopened? Like a used cream that's already been opened, or if something's unopened?
It is the same. The rule is the same regardless if it's open or closed.
Okay.
The difference, and this is why people always confuse these things, is when you're flying, you don't go into a formal customs. You don't go into customs when you fly. They rarely stop you and look at your things and make you go and do customs. So a lot of people could say, well, I flew to Costa Rica with all my creams and my vitamins and all of these things, and nobody said anything to me. And I understand, because when you're a traveler, you're hauled into a different category, and you don't have to declare your creams or your shampoo or your vitamins or your pills. But when you're going into a container shipping way, or a pallet or a small shipment that you have to go into a formal customs process, then these things really matter. Because guess what? If your shipment get hauled for an inspection and you have a box that it has shampoo and creams and all of these things that we need, and we think maybe Costa Rica don't have them, the entire container is going to put on hold until we get this permit. And that means that it delays the process. The container being on hold, it means that you have to pay a storage for this container. So it makes it slow and expensive. The other way, or the perfect way to do this, or the easiest way, or the best practice, is to keep your shipment under just your personal items, your furniture, your ornaments, and avoid shipping creams, cosmetics, anything that you put in your skin or you put into your mouth, anything that you eat. Those things are usually require additional permits and additional requirements. So I try to stay away from shipping creams or food. Also, a lot of people ask me, can I put my plants, or can I put my something that is maybe soil, because maybe you have some special soil that you think is gonna make your plants grow better. Just keep those things outside, or you do not ship these things. Just keep it with your furniture, your house goods. If it's all used, we can usually help you lower the bill of the import taxes. And this is very interesting, because a lot of people do not realize, and a lot of people may have this value for their shipment. They think, all my things are worth $20,000, but that doesn't mean if it's used, you are the only one, or we are the only ones that could tell how much we could depreciate that in front of the eyes of customs. Usually a $20,000 shipment, I could depreciate it for like $2,000, $3,000. So you end up paying import taxes only on part of the value, and then you end up not paying that much. Versus if you declare the entire shipment for $20,000, then you pay a big bill on import taxes. but we can help you make those decisions. Some items I know customs are going to look close, so it's better to keep their value a little like normal or a little higher. But for most things in the house, if they're used, it's very easy to depreciate the value, and we know how to do that. We've been doing this for like 10 years plus. So I think that's a couple of the best advices that I can give. Before you ship, make sure you consult. You get your packing list. You send your packing list to your customs broker. A lot of companies, I'm not saying you can hire me or hire our company, but I'm not saying that. If you want to use any company in the U.S., any shipping company, like I don't care. As long as you have a customs broker in Costa Rica that is an expert and it has experience in household goods, you should be fine. You have to make this additional research with the customs brokers here in Costa Rica. If not, I can take care of the entire shipping process from packing, loading, the entire freight, and the customs service down here.
Yeah, and I can definitely speak to probably the benefit of using a customs broker. So recently I've been helping a client with a shipment that's gotten stuck. So he's shipped it through FedEx, and even I'm looking at the paperwork, I don't understand. It's just been mind-boggling. We finally did figure it out, but we've just I just experienced with a client firsthand how valuable it can be to have someone in customs. Because I guess, for some things, if you do ship, let's say FedEx or DHL, those agencies aren't really going to assist much with the actual what customs is asking for. So I think it'd be really helpful for especially larger shipments, to have someone who knows what they're doing. So if something comes up, they can help you prevent the problems in the beginning. And then if something does arise, they can help you navigate through it.
Okay, my point would be is do not underestimate this process. It is a complex. Customs is a process that is complicated. Do not underestimate this process. A lot of things that you could ship, maybe FedEx, DHL, any courier services, a lot of things will be fine. Small electronics, new clothing, many things will be fine. But some of these things will require additional permits, which is going to require an attorney to do a sworn declaration, many different steps. So do not estimate and always ask before shipping. And if you ask, then you're going to get the advice of an expert, and then you could decide if it's worth it or not. So a lot of things would not be worth it, not even try to ship these things. The other thing that I want you to be aware of is when you're shipping to another country, there is requirements, there are rules. So you have to prove that you're actually moving to Costa Rica. If you're shipping a small shipment or a container, like a pallet or a container, you have to prove that you're moving. That means that you have to show that you're either having a long-term rental agreement or that you own a property, and that's at the very minimum. If you do that, you could lower the import tax, because your shipment could be treated as used household goods and I'd be able to depreciate the value of it. If you don't have this proof, what means is the value that we can give has to be higher, and this difference could save you literally a couple of $1,000s on a container. So it's something that you have to be. A lot of people move down here, just rent an Airbnb, and that's not enough. If you're moving down and you're renting a long-term rental agreement, it's in Spanish, that will be just enough to make it work.
Okay, so I have a question. So sometimes I do get people asking, how much more or less does a container cost? But, I'm assuming that depends on a lot of different factors, maybe what port, what they're putting in it. So I don't know, whenever people have that question, I'm sure you get that a lot. What are some of the things that you explain to people when you get that
question? It's very complicated to give a rate because we basically, it's not like we like DHL or FedEx. It's easy to go to the website. They already have all these numbers crunched in a system for a package per kilo. And this is not the case with any other cargo service. If you go into a cargo service that you're using a pallet or a container, we have to do the math from the beginning. And there is a big chain of providers. Let's say you have a container and then you live in Miami, Florida, which Miami, Florida has one of the biggest and most important ports in the United States. And you're maybe only 15 minutes or 20 minutes away from the port, that means that your freight is going to be a lot less expensive than if you live in, I don't know, Kentucky, which is a big, gigantic freight from Kentucky to the closest ocean port. It could be Houston, it could be LA. So because Kentucky is right in the middle of the state, so that inland freight could cost more than the international freight from Miami to Costa Rica. So it could be twice as much more to ship from Kentucky than shipping from Miami.
Interesting.
I'm not saying people do not ship from Kentucky. I have clients from central United States all the time. It just costs more money because you're a lot more. There's a lot more distance, and the inland freight is more expensive than the ocean freight. So it's really hard to guess. When somebody tell me how much it's going to cost me, and the ocean freight, it's one part. Now a lot of clients ask me, "Can you do the packing for me?" And I'm able to coordinate with a local moving or packing company that brings the boxes, bubble wrap, packed everything. So when people ask me for this service, that usually adds a couple of $1,000s to the cost of the service, because labor in the United States, as you might know, is a lot more expensive than any other country in Central or Latin America. So having a crew going for 2 days, they usually charge $150 an hour just for packing, plus packing material. So I could just add up. I could tell our shipments, as we've seen this through the years, are probably anywhere from $3,000 to $15,000. So there is a big range depending on where you are and how much we have to do for you. If you have a big, big house, it will be more. If you only have a few things, it will be a lot less.
Yeah, so a lot of different factors.
There's a lot. The best thing to do is take your time. If you have a packing list, send us your packing list, or let us go through your house in a video conference. We go through your house with you and you explain us what do you want to ship. And we know by experience what will be the volume we need to coordinate for that. And then based on that, we'll make a custom tailor proposal for you based on what you need. And also something that is really good, and I think this is why I get such a good reviews all the time, is we take some time, we spend 20 minutes with each and every client before we give a proposal. And this gives me a lot of insight, because I can tell you right away, well, I'm shipping this, and I tell you right away, well, those things require this additional permit. Are you willing to go through that? And it's going to cost you another $100 or $200. So that way you are able to save money, because you are consulting with an expert that knows customs in Costa Rica. And that way you can also avoid shipping those things, and then you don't have to pay, that additional space or volume, because you're avoiding shipping those things that are probably costing you more of a headache when it gets down here. So I think that's one of the keys of our success, is we take some time with each and every client. We learn of what they need, we advise on these phone calls, these conference calls, and after we finish, we'll be able to come up with a proposal that we know that it's going to be of benefit to our clients, and we can tell you the risk or what not to ship or what's going to happen. We can tell you all these things up front, and that way it's your call. You could decide if you want to ship those things or not. And I think that's key. Just prepare yourself, learn, take some time, do your research. Please be aware of, if you hire a shipping company that is based in the United States, it's really hard. They know customs Costa Rica. It would be just very, very hard. They may subcontract to a customs broker. And if they subcontract to a customs broker, make sure you talk to that broker before you ship, because a lot of information gets just missing. They just follow through the cracks. And when the shipment gets to Costa Rica, you end up finding out that you have to pay more for this or for that. And if you talk before with this customs broker, then you know what to avoid, how to make your shipment more efficient.
So then, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see with people shipping, or what are some of the things that biggest errors?
I think the biggest mistake I seen through the years, and I will not say the biggest, because something so simple to fix, just by you guys knowing that you need to count each and every box. If you do the loading yourself, for the most part, if you hire a relocation company or an international moving company with experience of shipping abroad, they will do a packing list and everything will be listed. So if you load 100 things in your shipment, then on the documents of shipment, the bill of landing, it's going to show 100 items. But if you do it yourself, if you do the loading yourself, and then you load 100 items, so you're telling us it's 100 items, and then we do the unloading, it end up being 101 item. This one item gets treated as you are trying to smuggle things into Costa Rica, and that's a felony, and that's going to cost you money, delays. Your shipment is going to be on hold for a few, sometimes 2 or 3 months, not just weeks. Sometimes your shipment is going to be on hold.
The entire shipment.
The entire shipment. So if you're doing yourself the service, even if you hire somebody, you could check, and it's your responsibility to know how many things you are shipping. So if you're shipping to Costa Rica, you're loading your shipment, or you're hiring somebody to do it for you, make sure you know how many items you're physically putting inside the container. If you're putting 100 items or 300 or whatever that number is, make sure you know. And when you look at the bill of lading, you talk to your shipper, you make sure they put how many items there is. And if it's 150, that's what it should be. If you don't do this, it could cost you literally thousands of dollars to fix that issue and a couple of months at customs. I think just this alone is going to save you lots of money if you're doing it yourself. The other things is there's a few things that are kind of rare that nobody could even think of that are going to create issues with your shipment. And we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
And they're sitting, and it's funny, and nobody believes me. And I have these calls with all my clients that they all laugh about, these things. I said a few: cosmetics, organic materials, food, alcohol, weapons, pornography. Those are things that create issues. Refrigeration equipment, like your AC or a freezer, or that requires a permit. But everybody does it anyway, so it's just an additional permit because it takes maybe another 3 or 4 days, and we filed this permit for you guys, so you can ship that, but that requires a permit. But the funny things are underwear. So,
Yeah.
So your boxers, your bikinis or whatever, it sounds weird, but it creates an issue. Underwear, it's used. If it's brand new, there is no problem. But if it's used, you have to try to keep that into your luggage. And when you fly and you bring your underwear with you, and avoid sending that through customs. And used shoes. Mm-hmm. Those are the two things that are kind of funny. Nobody why. And let me give you why. Kind of like the idea in general. It's not me. It's not me as a customs broker or anybody down here. Is just customs sees this as a potential, like a potential disease could come out of a used shoes, like any fungus or anything that can come in your shoes. I know you keep your shoes clean, but customs sees this black and white. If it's used shoes, used underwear, I have to file for an additional permit. This costs a lot more expensive, and sometimes they're just gonna deny it anyway. So bring those things in your luggage and avoid paying these additional fees, and also the shipment that you're gonna send through, through your container or your pallet or a few boxes that you're shipping are gonna go through customs faster, more efficient, and easier. Maybe there is a question there. See something there?
There's a few. I still have some more questions. How long overall, and a lot of people sometimes ask, how long does the process take? So typically, if it's done correctly, how long does the process take? And then what can cause it to take longer?
Okay. How long does it take? If you are the average shipping container out of the big shipping companies, they could take 3 to 4 weeks from an ocean port in the U.S. or Canada to Port Limon. And from there, it starts another process. We have to move the container from Port Limon to a terminal in San Jose, and then we have to make a pre-inspection. So we actually go and take a look at things before we file to customs. So it takes a few more days. But this additional 1 month, and then this additional process when it gets here could take another 3 weeks in a normal scenario for a 20-foot container.
Okay.
If it goes over 2 months, then we have to start asking why is it taking that much. Then we have to go into more detail. Sometimes the shipping line has delays. Sometimes they skip port. maybe bad weather in Limon, and then they just keep the port instead of stopping here in Costa Rica, just going to Panama, and then they have to go to Colombia, Brazil, and then come back. So it was another maybe 3 weeks. But that's just, it depends on weather and many other factors. That's on the shipping part. And then the customs part, if it takes more than a month, then you have to start, worrying about and figuring out what's happening. Because sometimes you just let it go another week, and sometimes it's 3 months and you haven't heard anything, and something could be happening. And if you have this case, if you're going through something like this, I'd be happy to take a look and see what's the deal with customs. But you have to kind of keep in, make sure things are moving forward, because a lot of times I've seen as far as people shipping stuff, and it's been 3 months and nobody reply or say anything, and then you have to go into, and you have the right to go yourself or hire to somebody to go to customs and ask, what's going on with this. You could do that. It's perfectly something normal.
Mm-hmm. We can get to some of the questions. One last little one. So, okay, let's say someone shipped something they weren't supposed to, and the whole entire shipment got held up. Does customs start charging you for your, let's say, container being held there for additional time?
Yeah, this is very, very important. Once the shipment gets to Costa Rica, it gets unloaded, or the container gets parked, let's put it this way, into a private terminal. This private terminal, we get to choose where do you want, or where do I want the shipments to go to. I select my terminal because my offices are located inside terminal, so I'm able to control the process, move things faster, and I'll be able to have an eyeball on what I'm doing. But a lot of companies do not have these facilities, so these terminals also charge money for the shipment. And if it's only a week, it could be $200. But if it goes into a month or 2 months or so on, it could be into thousands. Mm-hmm. I've seen shipments that get on hold for a year, goes into all these different things. And this is why it's important. I mean, we're talking very delicate things. Being a customs broker or dealing with customs is like being an attorney for the specific country you're shipping to. So there's a lot of laws, and these laws is what change almost once a year. And getting a memo from customs saying, we now have to do this. We now have to do this other thing. So these laws are always evolving, changing. So yeah, it's important. And if you don't follow these laws, and if you don't get this help up front or before shipping, your shipment could be on hold for a long time. So on this case, I saw the shipment being on hold for a year plus, and he ended up paying like $6,000 on storage.
Wow.
So that's it was a very bad case.
Yikes. Yeah. All right. So we're going to take a look at some of the questions here. But as you can see, like, shipping is a complicated process. I definitely learned something new today. So let's see. First one, it says Facebook user, because I can't see your name. Can you import motor vehicles? I have numerous motorcycles I want to bring down. So.
Okay. Question about motor vehicles. Yes, you're allowed to import any vehicle you have. You just have to be aware of each and every vehicle gets tax. You have to pay import taxes on each and every vehicle. That depends on what type of vehicle, and it changes. Basically, customs in Costa Rica has a database of all these automobiles, and they have these values listed on each and every vehicle. And they update these values. So I can tell, you can tell me, how much do I have to pay for my motorbike? I don't know. I need to know if it's a Honda or Harley, what year is the bike, all this. Even the size of the engine could change the value on this database. So once I have the specific vehicle model, sometimes even the VIN number, then I can look at the database, and I can tell, well, this bike is worth $1,000 or is worth $10,000, and then we apply the import tax depending on the year. And if it's older or newer, pay more or less. But it just changes on each and every vehicle. And some bikes or some automobiles are a pretty bad idea to bring, because guess what? If you sell them in the US, you can buy a better motorcycle here. Sometimes that's the case, and some other cases it's just totally fine. And people have this misconception. I've seen this in the expat groups. Oh no, do not ship the car. You just have to really do your research on that specific vehicle. And if you are shipping a container and you have the additional space to put your motorcycle, then you're already paying for that freight. It's probably worth it. And if you're shipping a 20-foot container, with your household goods and you want to upgrade just for a vehicle, shipping this additional 40-foot container just for the vehicle, it could cost you only maybe $800 to $900 to have this additional space. So in that sense, you're maximizing that and it's not costing you that much. So that may be a good idea. We just have to see what kind of vehicle you're shipping and have a detailed description. I'm a vehicle. I really like vehicles. I'm a lover of vehicles. I've been around vehicles all the time, and I know the market down here. So if you ask me, I'm shipping this Cadillac or I'm shipping this, Ford, and I can tell you my ideas of what the market looks like, and give you some links of how much are they worth down here, so you have an idea to see if it's worth it or not for you to ship.
Also, with parts be available, and that's a whole nother can of worms.
And that's what I'm going through that. Like, I understand the market. I had some vehicles that are American made. I had a few Fords in the past, and getting parts for those are harder. And if you have a Japanese vehicle, maybe easier, or a Korean vehicle like Kia or Hyundai, is maybe easier. And then you also have to think of it as a smart investor. If you want to ever sell your vehicle down here, be able to just sell and catch out. And it's a good idea to know what you're shipping, and if you're able to sell it right away and get your money and maybe do something else or buy something else down here, versus if you get one of these Ford American made vehicles, it may be a little higher to get your money out of it if you're trying to sell it in the future. It just depreciate faster because there is less market, less people interested in those type of vehicles.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. That's really helpful. Okay, Chris, he's one of my clients. He says, what about shipping? Shipping time from Ontario to Costa Rica, customs delays, etc. Have you guys done Canada?
Okay, well, Canada, it's a very interesting route because there is no direct shipments for a pallet from Canada to Costa Rica. So what usually end up happening, I seen this like 100 times, and that it gets shipped to the United States or it gets shipped to another big hub in the States, maybe LA or New York or Florida, and then it waits to another forwarding company forward that to Costa Rica. So it ended up being a couple of months, not just a month, for a pallet. So it's the same thing happened with Europe. There is some areas in some countries in Europe that
someone asked about the UK here.
We are shipping from, let's say, Paris, France, and then it gets shipped to Hamburgo, Germany, or to Belgica, or to Belgium, and then it gets shipped to Costa Rica. And before it gets to Costa Rica, it stops into Panama, it stops in many different places. So it takes at least 2 months for a pallet, because being in a small shipment, you don't have control over the route. What these companies do is they make sure the container is completely full. So you have to wait for all the clients that are going into that next hop. And then from there, it gets shipped to Costa Rica. So on pallets and small shipments, I've seen that a lot, 2 months. But you'd be surprised, a lot of times, you can use air cargo. It only takes a week, and the cost may not be as different. It may only be a few $100s more for an air cargo shipment. If it's not as heavy, you could do that, and it would only take a week.
Okay, so air cargo would be a better way. Yeah, someone asked about the UK. So basically, what you're saying is it could take a few months.
If it's a small shipment, if you're having your own container, the route should be a lot more straightforward. Shipping company should be able to look for a faster route. If you're going into small shipments, then it goes into a terminal, gets loaded into the container, gets loaded, and it does not go directly to Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a small country. So what happens is, from Europe, it may go to Miami, and then it gets unloaded into this terminal, and it gets loaded into another container that comes in Costa Rica, and that makes it twice as much time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Some more vehicle questions. So Ken is asking, what is the process of shipping in a new vehicle cost? Is it less troublesome to drive it in rather than ship it? And I've received this question quite a bit. I know what my recommendation is, and then look, then we can kind of answer these both together. If you're allowed to bring a vehicle, can you pack stuff in it, or does it have to be separated on a pallet? So I think those two kind
of. There is a gray line on that. Can I fill my truck with things, or my SUV with things? There's a fine line. A lot of companies would not allow it. It's just not allowed. Depending on who you use as a shipper, would not allow it. It also depends on where you're located, because these companies may serve New York, Baltimore, all the Atlantic, versus I have a shipping company out of Tampa that will allow it to me. They allow me to do that. I will not recommend it in either way, because when it gets to customs, I have to be able to know how many things you put in the container, each and every box, each and everything. I have to declare everything if we want to do it right. And if you put you put your cart, you fill it with things, then how many things did you put in there? Are you just throwing things in your trunk, or you put in boxes and we can count each and every box? So I will not recommend it. There are some companies out there, very, very few, that will allow it. Very, very few. For the most part, they are not going to let you load, especially if you're using a service that is called RoRo, which this is basically a service where you drive the vehicle, or they drive the vehicle inside of a big boat or vessel. They do not allow it. It's a very inexpensive way to ship a car, but they just don't let it do it. Some other services, if you have your own container, you can put your car and put things outside the car, and that should be fine, as long as you know how many things you're putting in there, how many boxes of things you're putting in there.
And then, so remind me again what were around the range of the import taxes on vehicles. Because Ken's question here is the process of shipping a new vehicle costs. So we need to include the import taxes plus obviously the container price if someone really wanted to do that. Okay. I usually don't suggest it, but what do you suggest?
Brand new cars. Brand new cars pay less import taxes. You're looking like 42 or less, or
brand new.
Brand new, but it has to be brand new. And sometimes you may be able to maybe only save $2,000 on it, but the cost of shipping the container and so on may not be a good idea, unless you're shipping a container and then you're shipping a container, then you are using the same container to put that the car. Now electric vehicles, they get a big import tax discount. Mm-hmm. They're getting more and more popular, and there are more charging stations through all the country in Costa Rica. Electric vehicles, if they're worth less than $30,000 and they're brand new, there are very few brands that can offer that in the US. But if you're able to find something that is less than 30 grand and it's brand new, you shouldn't pay taxes on it. You file for an import tax exoneration. So we file that. We get you this exoneration thing. It's a document that we basically ask customs not to charge import taxes, and then you don't pay taxes on these vehicles. Now, if the vehicle is worth, let's say 30 grand or 40 grand or even $50,000 because it's an electric vehicle, then you only pay taxes on anything over $30,000. So you may only pay taxes on only $10,000, and the bracket on that is very low. So I was doing a very popular Tesla. What was it? The 2018, something like that. But it was worth $48,000. It was very expensive. And the import taxes on that was less than $5,000.
Oh, great.
So
I didn't know that.
Very little. When you compare that into any other vehicle, if you have a $50,000 truck, you're usually going to pay $15,000 or $20,000 on import taxes. Versus this electric Tesla, it was only $5,000.
Okay.
So that's
good to know.
That's an idea with electric vehicles. And then you also be surprised. There's a lot of people that say, well, it's a really horrible idea to ship a car. Sometimes it is. A lot of times it is. But you have to do the homework and take a look of what it is versus what is worth in the market. There are some cars, and I was doing this exercise a few weeks ago. Somebody had a Nissan Xterra 2005, 2000, something like that. Not a newish car, but still a pretty good truck, American built, with all the safety features and airbags, and a lot of these features they're not mandatory for the Costa Rican or the Latin American market. So these safety features of this build, design, approved, FDA approved, whatever, it's only available in the United States or in Canada. Sometimes they're pretty good trucks. On this Xterra, you are only paying like $4,000. So good looking car, and the import taxes, they were not as bad. Okay. And it's a Japanese vehicle that may have a resale value as well. So these vehicles are different. Each and every vehicle is different. So the only way that I could help is if I take a look at the vehicle itself and do the research on the import tax, and then compare that to the local market.
Okay. Yeah. Knowledge is power. I say, weigh out your options, and then at least if you have your options in front of you, you can decide what's going to be the best. Do you want to import it? Do you not want to?
So another way to look at this car, decision. If you already have the car and it's paid off, if you go and sell this vehicle, you end up selling it like wholesale or really cheap, maybe it's a good idea. But just going and buying an automobile just because you want to buy an automobile, going to a dealership to purchase a car, you usually have to pay retail price if you go into any dealership. So you pay high rates, then you pay for the shipping and everything else and the customs. And then when it gets here, you gotta go into a legal process to register the vehicle to yourself or to your company down here. So I don't think it's worth it for you to go and actually look and purchase a vehicle if you're buying a retail. There's a lot of companies or people down here that own dealerships that buy vehicles in the United States, but they go into wholesale actions to buy these vehicles, that they buy it for half of what it's worth, and then they ship it, and then that's why they have a mark. They make money doing that. But just going to buy a retail vehicle, you're not going to save as much. If you already have it, that's a good thing.
That makes sense. We'll kind of shoot through these a little bit because I want to be respectful of your time. Well, Ken also asked if it would be troublesome to drive it in rather than ship it. I mean, I don't.
Okay, I have some insight about that. There's a lot of people that there's a lot of people that really like adventure. I am one of them. I like adventure. I've been in Central America. I've been in Nicaragua. I've been in Guatemala. I've been in El Salvador. I rented vehicles. I've driven around. But I also deal with shipping and trucking through Central America. I mean, we do business in Costa Rica. We have operations in Panama and Nicaragua, and we ship and move families from Guatemala everywhere. So the way I see this is there is a big risk when you're doing this. You could become a target. There is a lot of expats and a lot of people do it. You have to really inform yourself about the routes. If you're gonna be doing this, you have to look into maybe 2 or 3 other expats that are coming with you in this, maybe 3 or 4 vehicles together, and find out ways to make it safe. Otherwise, it could be a very, very bad idea.
Yeah.
I had, just to put this into perspective, like I said, I've driven Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, but I know where to go. I have friends. I have like a lot of my agents in Guatemala, Salvador. I know where to go if I needed some help. And but I also had really bad experiences with trucking. This was 4 years ago. I had a truck disappear on thin air in El Salvador. Like an entire truck just vanished on air and never appeared again.
Wow.
That means they stole the truck, and I don't know what happened with the driver. Insurance paid for that, paid $25,000 for the shipment, but maybe the driver, I don't know, but nobody knows. And that's a trucker that does this route, and they do it, once every couple of weeks. So somebody that knows the area, whatever, they've been around. It happens, and it's not the first story I could tell you. Like a lot of my friends in the shipping industry, trucking, that we move cargo in Central and Latin America had these experiences as well.
Wow.
So I know the risk, it could be your life.
Yeah, I would not recommend it.
So the only way that I could say, well, it's a good idea is if you make it really safe, if you know where you're going, if you know with somebody that has experience. There are many vehicles together doing the same thing. That's the only way that I could probably do it. Otherwise, believe me, it's a big risk. And if you go into each and every border, you have to go into each and every border, file customs, file documents, and there is red tape in each and every border.
I end up spending more, to be honest. And gas, rather than just spending a few thousand for the container.
I don't think people will do it just to save money. I think
save money.
No, I don't think so.
It's not a money saver.
I think you're gonna go into hotels. You're gonna go into sleeping in your truck.
Yeah.
It's gonna be risky. It's an adventure. I understand that. I mean, we wanna do that. I understand that. So you're not gonna save money.
No,
it's just
not be a money saving.
Each and every border is gonna have red tape. You're gonna have to show your passport, say who you are. Oh, American passport Target. That's Target for a country like El Salvador or Guatemala. It's a lot of there is a lot of criminal or delinquency or problems with these countries, maras and so on. So I mean, it's entirely up to you. I see many expats that say, "Oh, I did it 10 times, I did it 5 times. Nothing happened to me." But that is not the right perspective. You have to maybe look into 500 people and then look at out of those 500 people, how many people got something happened to them, and maybe you have a perspective. Maybe look into another question.
Yeah. Well, so this is one that, so I actually tried to look for this the other day and I couldn't find it anymore. So is there a database where you can check to find the value of the vehicle? And I know I'd done that before, and I feel like I went to the same website the other week and it's gone. So do you know what website?
Yes, I know, but it's a long name.
We can put it in the description. So we'll add the website if you in the description probably today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
We find it.
After we finish here, we'll send you a link. Put you a link there. It's not a really easier friendly, and a lot of vehicles are not going to be like the exact vehicle you have is not going to be there. So let's say I have a gentleman here that says a Honda Honda 2000. Yeah. This one, 2012. Richland, 2012.
40,000 miles.
One thing, miles do not matter for the Costa Rican government. So you could have no miles or 400,000 or 1,000,000 miles on the vehicle. That's not going to affect the value, how customs sees this. I understand in the US it's a big deal, but here we don't really care. Like customs don't really care. Now, you may not, this Honda Richland may not be the same kind at the database. So what I usually do is I go put Honda and then I put the model, and then you click on it, you do search, and it's gonna give you Honda Richland with 5 different kinds: ELX, Special Edition, the V8 engine, the V6 engine. So you look for the closest one, the closest that look like yours, and then you go by that. And they give you an option of full, which is all the extras, leather, sunroof, and so on. And they give you another option for basic and one in the middle. So you look for the one that looks a lot like yours, and then it's going to give you a list of values based on the year. Then you look for 2012, and out of these values, you look at the last spot here on the right, the last column, and on that is the import value. And it will say on the top import value, or valor de importación in Spanish. And this import value is what you use to determine what is the import tax. And then on that, you apply either 43% or 73%. For a 2012, if it's 5 years and older, you do 73%. 5 years and older. If it's less than 5 years, you do 43%.
Okay.
And this look like a big number. 43% look like a big number, but people get stuck in that, but it's not. What matters is what customs thinks is worth, because you can pay 73%. It looks like a whole lot, but custom maybe think that your vehicle is only worth $5,000, and if they believe it's only worth $5,000, 73% is not going to be a big amount of import tax. Okay. So you just have to do the work every time.
All right. So another person. These 2 questions kind of go along the same lines. Well, how long can you have a vehicle in Costa Rica before you must get it registered here? And I saw another one saying, that's
an interesting question.
Bringing the vehicle in for merely a 90-day visa required that you pay the import fee. So basically, how long until you need to actually, if you drive it in, when do you need to actually?
So you're driving your vehicle, or you ship your vehicle. Some people ship the vehicle when it gets here. With your passport, you could go to customs and say, well, I want to have my car. I'm a tourist, and they give you 90 days from the day you arrive, not from the vehicle arrival time, from the day you as a tourist arrive. So let's say your vehicle is already here. Your vehicle is not even here yet, but you arrive a month before. So when you go to customs and claim this right, they're going to look at, you've been here for a month already. So they're only going to give you 60 days.
Okay. So
that's something to think about. A lot of people will say, well, I've been here for 3 months almost, and then you want to try to get this, and they only have 10 days available. So it's not a great deal. If you drive it, when you're arriving, then you'll have this 90 days. You have to really, really be careful and look at the date. If let's say you're driving the vehicle and then you pass this 90 days, 91 day, and then you have to pay a big fine. You have to file for a kind of like sending a letter to customs saying that it was a mistake, you didn't know, and all that is going to take another month before we can file customs, like the normal process. So it's not it's not a good idea just to go over this 90-day period. It's better for you to like bring the vehicle to customs and ask for like permission to use it a little more. They usually don't give it, but because of COVID, maybe they're a little bit more flexible.
Well, we got quite a lot of questions here, but I also do want to be respectful of time. Maybe if you want to,
this is an interesting one.
You want to pick a few more, and then what we can do is
you want to scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
There is one about incentives, and I want to give you my opinion on this incentive a little down.
Maybe for ones that we don't get to, would you be willing to like check out some of the comments in the Facebook group?
This is one here. Mr. John Miller says is waiting for the tax incentives to this law to pass. I want to give you some thoughts on this, John. A law to pass in Costa Rica, it could be 10 years before that happens. It could be a year. It could be 10 years. So a lot of people, I have these opinions. People is waiting for this. Want to wait. I've seen this happen now. Just to give you an idea, they just passed, I think a couple of years ago, this IVA, which is the new tax. When you buy anything, you pay 13%. That took over 10 years to pass.
Wow.
And this is a law that is for the government to charge more to everybody. This is a very nice incentive, and it comes from the president of Costa Rica, Juan Carlos Alvarado, wants to incentivize attracting more expats and more people to come and live and retire in Costa Rica. But I know how the political government works, and I think it'll be a few more years before that happens. So you have to keep that into consideration. This gentleman said that he has maybe shipping from Miami or Tampa, and those are great ports to ship from. I get great rates from Miami and Tampa. And then we can go through some questions and reply. In the comments, our answers.
Sure. And then if you guys want to get in contact with Pablo, then you can email me, and my email address is in the description. So if you're in the Facebook group, my email address is in there. If you're on the YouTube channel, look at the description. My email address is there too, sarah@lasaralana.com, and I can connect you directly with Pablo. If you are going to want to get a quote for shipping, from your home country to Costa Rica, make sure that it's done as smoothly as it can go. Obviously, it's just a complicated process. So
as long as you're informed yourself, you'll be all right. Because it's a matter of information. If you inform yourself and you find on this end support with the customs broker process, you should be fine. You'll know if it's worth it for you or not.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to say before we head off here? I'm gonna make sure Pablo can get in the Facebook group if you guys if you wouldn't mind answering some of the other questions, just in case we missed some really good ones that more people are wanting to know. But and then anything else about your team or your process or anything?
I think we have a process in place. Like I think I already mentioned to you before. Each and every customer, we spend some time. We go into a conference call. We try to understand and analyze what are you shipping, the things that you're shipping, and we try to tell you out of a customs broker view if it's worth it, if it's not worth it, if it's going to create issues, and that this 10 minutes to 20 minutes time, it could literally save you thousands of dollars. It could literally save you a lot of time and headaches. And that's, I think, the key why we get these reviews is because we spend time with each and every client, not just giving a rate just because somebody wants to know how much it's costing you without knowing the entire picture. We try to give you the entire picture. I think that what set us apart from our competition. And I totally understand not everybody is our client, but if you're not my client anyway, I'd be happy to spend some time with you and help you, educate you, and help you make your decision.
Yeah, and that's one thing. That's why I wanted to bring Pablo on here. Is it's taking me time to like build up my own list of people that I'm like, okay, I feel comfortable about this person, comfortable with how they do business. I know they go by the books. They genuinely care about people, even if like, some of the other people I work with, we share the same values of, okay, even if it's not going to be a client, let's point them in the right direction. Let's provide some kind of value for them. And that's what's really important to me. People are responsive. So I found like for me personally, Pablo and the way that he does business aligns with me and how I like to do things and the other people that I work with. So that's why I wanted to have him on here. And I feel totally confident that if I'm like, all right, shipping, here you go. Like, I know it's going to go as smooth as possible and it's going to be done correctly and corners aren't going to be cut because, yeah, it's, you know, you move into another country. So it's really important that things are done correctly. So I'm really happy that I'm happy we were able to be here in person. So that we could just do this video in person for you guys today. So thank you again for coming on. Thank you for staying with us. If you're watching the replay, say hello. Sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. We will. Yeah, it was a lot. It's a lot of information. It's complicated.
A lot of people moving down. Lots of people moving down. My guess is the next few months we're going to see a lot of people moving. There are a lot of people already purchasing properties.
Absolutely.
Getting a lot of requests from like all over the world. I'm just really glad this pandemic is starting to normalize. I'm really glad that the country really handled it very well in relationship to other countries. So yep, that's what's going to happen. And if you guys are coming down, I'm really happy to give you support and ideas with the shipping part. But if I can help in any way, I'll be happy to. This is what I really like about my job. All the people that I met, it's amazing. I met people from all over the world with ideas. They're coming down. They're doing restaurants, hotels. Or some people just retiring. They're building a house, and being around people that is doing something really excites me. I mean, I just feel like I want to learn from you guys. It's just that's the part that I really like about what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep, we do got a pretty interesting line of work. But well, thank you everybody for joining. Feel free to shoot me an email if you'd like to get connected directly with Pablo, and I will see you guys next week.